I'm delighted to welcome now onto our main plenary. I'm delighted to welcome Paul Burstow, our President and Conference Chair. Paul's extensive first-hand knowledge of the care sector as former Minister and has positioned him really well to influence and support the tech sector. Paul has a wide range of public policy and leadership experience and currently holds a number of non-executive leadership roles across health and care sector. As independent chair of Hertfordshire and West Essex Integrated Care System, he is working with partners across local government, NHS, community and voluntary sectors to develop population health management and integrated care. Paul combines his leadership in social care with a focus on technology-enabled care, empowering citizen-centred service design that makes the best use of data and technology to enhance outcomes. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic 2 days and look forward to seeing you tomorrow at closing plenary when Paul and I will set out our ambitions for 2020 and build a wider 2020 vision for tech and the wider tech sector. May I welcome to the stage Paul Burstow.
Thank you very much, Alison, and good morning to everyone. Really pleased to be here again in Birmingham. Delighted that so many of you have joined us again and many more people have come to this conference this year. And I wanted to start by just reflecting on one or two of the things that Mike has just said to us, because I thought it was a fantastic way to start our event. It's been something we've done for the last few years of really focusing on the voice of lived experience, either of receiving care or of giving care, and that sort of reciprocal nature that I think Mike underscored in his presentation was incredibly powerful. But I also think what he said at the end is the most important point, which I hope many of us will not just take to heart, but will take out of this room and add into what we say when we're talking about care and what great care can look like. Because there are many myths, there are a great deal of stigma and negativity attached to caring roles. Which in many ways is one of the reasons that we see in the report from Skills for Care just last week, that the turnover rates now in domiciliary care, particularly the domiciliary care purchased by local authorities, has reached 40%. Staggering 40% turnover rates. That continuity of care can't be there with that. That relationship that you build day by day, week by week, that Mike was talking about in some of his experiences, can't be there if the turnover rate is at that level. So we have to do more to tell the sort of stories that Mike has told of why this is a great career, why it can make a real difference, not just for the person who's receiving the care, but actually the person who's giving the care as well. Now, my job, first and foremost, as the chair and compere for this event, is also to do some of the housekeeping. So I should just say that there won't be any fire drills. So if there is a fire alarm, we should be leaving in an orderly fashion and through the usual exits. It's already been mentioned by Alison that we have this year a app which is being used as a way of helping people make contact with one another during the course of this conference, but also to ask key questions of the various participants on the plenary stage and elsewhere. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, please do download it and familiarise yourself with it. And then finally, if you can just make sure your phones are on mute, that will be very much appreciated. So I really have pleasure to be opening this conference and to be saying something about the work that the TSA has been doing over the last year, and this theme, this golden thread that runs through this event and which is a core part of the work that the TSA has been doing and will be doing over the coming year to really promote the idea of citizens-powered communities. So just at the end of last year's conference, looking ahead to the year that has now come to a close, I set out 7 themes that came out of our conference last year. And I think one of them was touched on again by Mike very powerfully just now, the importance of human voice, choice and touch being absolutely at the heart of what we as a sector have to be placing before those that buy and pay for our services. But not just that, the focus on the digital shift, the fact that we need to be using data differently. All of those aspects. And I said then at that event that we will be launching a dialogue, the leadership events that we've been working on over the course of this year to listen to leaders through government and various parts of the public sector and to form an agenda for action. And I'm really pleased that we're able to publish that during the course of this event. So, just a bit of context, because the TSA has been on a journey over the last 4 or so years. These 2 papers, industry white papers that we at the TSA have published, listening to and working with people across the sector in this room and beyond, very much in our People First report of 2016, stressing the fact that we have to put the individual, their lived experience, at the centre of everything we do, the way we design and deliver our services. But then also in our report in 2017, highlighting both the opportunity and the potential risks of the digital switchover that Alison was talking about earlier on, and which we will continue to focus on working with the infrastructure providers and others as we get nearer to that 2025 deadline. And we also, in those 2 reports and in various other reports such as our Tech Stories reports, highlighted a number of cultural shifts that we believe are absolutely essential to make the adoption landscape for technology-enabled care that much more benign, much more successful, to leverage the potential of technology-enabled care. And through the dialogue that we've been having with the LGA, with the Care Quality Commission, with ADAS, with housing organisations, with NHS leaders and many others, we've been listening carefully. And what we are launching today is effectively our prospectus for partnership working with many other organisations to deliver the benefits of technology-enabled care. And that's why I'm really delighted that we are today launching this report, Citizens-Powered Communities, which sets out our priorities as an organisation and the priorities that we believe we need to partner with industry colleagues in this room and beyond to deliver over the coming year. But first, I just want to give a bit of context again about how this approach that the TSA is now going to be taking forward really fits together with government policy and the direction of policy at a national and local level as well. And there are 2 particular reports I want to highlight. The first is the government's industrial strategy that was published in 2017, and it emphasised and identified the need to invest in research and development around healthy ageing. And the long-term plan, the NHS long-term plan that was published in January of this year, which has set out the trajectory for investment in the healthcare system over the next decade. Those 2 documents are key building blocks for the conversations that we have been having and the opportunities we see before this sector. And let's just say a little bit more about the long-term plan, the NHS plan. Because when the first plan that Simon Stevens published about 6 years ago, the 5-year forward view was published, it had 3 aims, the triple aim, if you like. And that was around improving the position in terms of funding and finance, about really focusing on population health, and about care quality. And now we have in this plan that's been published this year and is being worked through by NHS and partner organisations up and down the country, this focus on health equity, of health inequality, and making sure that the workforce is properly supported in order to be able to deliver the great care that we want. Now, I mentioned population health is given a stronger emphasis in this plan, and I just want to say something about what population health is, because in a nutshell, it's about taking actions designed to reduce the occurrence of illness. It requires us to work with communities and across the public sector and with the community and voluntary sector as well. And it includes population health management as well as a key part of that. So population health management is about how we use our data in a smarter way to actually drive the planning and also deliver proactive care, identifying key risk groups in our population and wrapping around the right care and support for them. And just taking that one step further, and talking about some work that we've been doing in Hertfordshire and West Essex, by segmenting the population and tailoring the interventions. So in Hertfordshire and West Essex, we've done that work of segmenting the population, understanding the different cohorts. And you know what? 68% of our population is mostly well across that area. 21%, however, are living with long-term health conditions, in many cases more than one long-term health condition. And then there are 12% of our population across that area, 12% who are living with multiple complex needs, social, psychological, physiological, and otherwise. And that group, that 12%, account for 45% of all the spending by the health and social care system across Hertfordshire and West Essex. Run the numbers in other parts of the country, you will find very similar outcomes. So the targeted use of tech as part of a population health approach can help bend that demand curve and support self-care and self-management. And this is not something the NHS can do on its own. Absolutely it can't do it on its own, and nor can any other public sector or other organisation. No more than a quarter of healthy life expectancy is attributable to healthcare. Half is down to social and economic factors. And we all need a sense of meaning, purpose, belonging, and making sure that we have that sense of hope. Because we're ultimately, what ails us is often social, not biomedical. Now, I've talked about the industrial strategy a little bit, and I want to say a little bit more about it, because that's where the industrial strategy presents us, I think, a real challenge and a real opportunity as a sector. Because complex problems require leaders who are able and willing to be bridge builders, crossing boundaries, rather than simply just patrolling the boundaries of what they have already. And what the industrial strategy has highlighted is that we are seeing a population that is growing, but that the oldest part of our population is growing quicker. And 72% increase in the numbers of people over the age of 80 over the next 20 years. Significant growth in our older population. And we know, I think I've said it at this conference before, that they're already alive in this country today. There are 10 million people who can expect to live to 100 years old, to receive that telegram from Her Majesty. And there is a health gap in this country when it comes to how we experience aging as a society. And that health gap is summed up by this particular chart. Half of people aged 55 to 58 living in the most deprived areas have the health status of people 25 years older who live in the least deprived areas. A 25-year health gap that drives demand in our health and social care system. And that's why the 5-year forward view, and particularly now the long-term plan, have such a focus on health inequality. And this is why also in the industrial strategy, its goal is very clear, that by 2035, people will enjoy 5 more years of healthy, independent life. And that's where we, as a sector, come in, and the contribution that we can make. And the Centre for Better Ageing published a piece of work on behalf of the industrial strategy, which has identified 7 areas of opportunity for developing the market when it comes to services for people in later life. And we also know that this market, the opportunity, the potential there is huge. If the silver economy was a nation state, then it would be the 3rd largest economy in the world, only dwarfed by the United States and by China. 4.2 trillion euros, 3.66 trillion pounds being the value of the silver economy. And just to sort of unpack that a little bit further, the size of the opportunity when it comes to connected healthcare, 59 billion euros. Or, for example, when it comes to healthcare monitoring in private homes, 31.5 billion by 2021. Or when it comes to smart homes and the market around there, it's predicted to be 55.8 billion by just next year. These are significant opportunities for this sector to continue to grow. And when it comes to healthy aging, it's worth just stressing that the framework that's set out here is very much one about how we shift the emphasis to recognizing that we need to maintain and recover people's social and physical function. And that's critical to healthy aging. And as Mike Bradbury, I think, said just now, it's about focusing on what matters to you, not what is a matter with you. And I think that's the shift to what I would describe as an asset or strength-based approach, where we are focusing on those strengths that individuals have, those talents, those informal support networks, the skills and talents that people have, the reciprocal nature of care being recognised. And something Alison would talk about only too often, and absolutely has been right all along, is the notion that we need to focus on how technology can play its part in slowing the progression of need. So now I come to our call to action, the document that we're launching today, which is all about how we, through engagements we've had with stakeholders in London, in Newcastle, and in Glasgow, we have identified 3 key priorities that we want to work on with others over the coming year and beyond. The first of those is data, something that is a regular theme at our conferences and we think is absolutely key, because often the public sector is data rich, but intelligence and insight poor. And this sector is sitting on large amounts of data, and it's time that we turn that into insights and actions and work with others to do so. And that does mean, as a sector, we have to get our act together and make sure that we are able to offer interoperable solutions when it comes to data sharing, when it comes to shaping the opportunities in health and care. And it also means we have to ask government, why is this sector, with all of its potential to make a difference in the lives of people, to enrich those lives and improve the quality of care, why is there still so much more to be done to improve access to this market? And we need to have a market access study for tech. And we also need to make sure that the work that the TSA has been doing for the LGA and others around cybersecurity is actually followed through and the recommendations that we have made are implemented in practice. And yes, that data that we hold, we need to make sure that we have it connected to other parts of the system, that we have the right data sharing arrangements and the right data at the right time. I can't emphasize this enough. The deadline of 2025 for the switch over to digital is a key inflection point for this industry. It's a key opportunity and it's a key challenge. We want government to wake up to that and to invest properly in supporting the change to minimize the risk and maximize the opportunity. And our second area of priority is workforce, and you're going to hear a lot about that during the course of these 2 days. And the former ADAS president, Glenn Garrett, has said this: it doesn't matter if someone is an OT, a nurse, or a social worker, they should be thinking, what are the digital devices available that can help people stay connected and independent? How do we embed this tech-first approach? Well, we think critically to that is the development of CPD and also formal qualifications, and we'll be mapping out more detail about that. And our third priority is around partnership working, collaborating to co-create solutions, new ways of working, sharing risks and rewards to actually make sure that technology is embedded in the way in which we deliver services. And that means using design thinking rather than rigid service specifications, co-producing, working with those with lived experience of services. And it also means different ways of procuring, and we outline in the report how we will do that. And all of this, we think, comes together in a prospectus for partnership working, which we see as a tech concordat, which we want to co-create with our colleagues in government and work together to deliver. And I'll just end with two last thoughts. One is that this is all about how we make this market grow, not simply sell into the market that we already have. And that is a key part of how we are trying to position this organisation and the opportunities we see for the tech sector going forward. And why does that matter? It matters because of the vision this organisation has had now for some years, that we are about transforming this industry to enrich everyday lives, to make sure that the work that Mike and others do is really impactful and makes a huge difference. So I'm delighted to have been opening this conference. I'm delighted to be able to launch this report. I hope you will all find it a useful tool in your work, and I look forward to your questions at a later stage. And with that, thank you very much.